Hello, Becky here. Welcome back to my channel. I am here to read Carrie by Stephen King and The Way to Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson. So the reason why I chose to pick up these two books was because as a part of a member on Books and Lala's channel, Kayla's channel, she is doing a members only book club, and for this fall winter season, it is The Way to Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson. And it is a retelling of Carrie. And I have never seen or read Carrie before this vlog. So I wanted to read it and see what it was about, and then jump into Tiffany D. Jackson's The Way to Blood. So just so you know, spoilers for Carrie, the book. I still have not seen the movie. I talk about passages that are in the book and events that are happening in Carrie, but no spoilers for The Way to Blood since it is still so new. So spoiler filled for Carrie, just so you know that. I'm not going to be putting up any kind of sign that I'm talking about spoilers, because it's all spoilers. But again, no spoilers for The Way to Blood. So here is my journey reading Carrie and The Way to Blood. So I am reading Carrie by Stephen King, and I'm on my Kobo, so it's page 34 out of 596, which jumped up from 4 or something because I upped the font size. But I am still part 1, chapter 1 kind of thing. And I have never read or watched Carrie before. I don't do... Puppy in the background chasing our cat. Peaches! You're not on the couch! But the cat is. So I don't watch or read a ton of Stephen King stuff. I don't really do horror or anything like that. But we are doing The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson for the Besties book club with Books and Lala. It's a Carrie retelling, so I decided I would read Carrie first. It starts, and I had no idea what Carrie was about at all, like I said. And my husband's like, I think that's the one with the period blood and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay. And I think he's seen that scene in the movie, but that's all he knows. He hasn't really watched it either. And I don't know if I'm going to watch the movie. It seems pretty disturbing from what I've read already, gross. I don't need to see a bunch of blood and stuff like that. But Stephen King has really painted Carrie as this gross person that nobody likes, and is just gross just based on how they look. That's kind of the feeling you get, and nobody likes her or anything like that. And it's so horrific because period stuff, first of all, this girl is 16 years old. How does she not know about periods yet? Almost 17. What is the mom doing in her life that she's not teaching her kids about menstruation? And I know this takes place in the 60s or something like that, so it was a little different. But my daughter in grade 4, end of grade 4, she's like, I learned about puberty. And so she was 9 years old when she was learning about periods and stuff through the school system. I don't remember when I learned about periods and things like that, but it was I got my period around 12, and I definitely knew about them prior to that. I knew what it was. So definitely we need to do a better job of teaching our children about puberty. And even if you have sons, teach them about menstruation, because it's a normal part of life, and it's not... I understand the idea of it's gross, it's blood and stuff like that, but don't make it a shameful thing. I know I'm always telling my daughters and stuff you need to shower, you need to keep clean, you need to do all this stuff, and my son is just 7, so same thing, he can go a few extra days, and I'm like, okay, you need a bath, right? I'm constantly telling them about showering and keeping clean and changing your underwear and stuff like that. So we're still doing the battles. I'm trying to breastfeed here, and it's impossible. My arm is hurting. We're still doing the battles of how to wipe their butts properly. Come on. There was a few things I wanted to say about this, but I'm too tired to talk about this right now. I know Stephen King definitely has some problematic writing, and I can see that definitely from this. And there was... Okay, so I made a highlight in my Kobo book here, my e-reader, and all these kids are throwing tampons at her and stuff like that, and pads and stuff. It's gym class, and they have the communal showers and stuff, and Carrie just starts bleeding, and they're like, what are you doing? You're gross. Here's tampons, here's pads, whatever, and they're just throwing stuff at her, so cruel. I wish... Me and my husband were talking about this, how our kids can be mean sometimes. Our children can be mean sometimes, and everyone's your kids are the sweetest kids, and... There was a girl on our block. She was the sweetest girl ever. She's always excuse me, Miss Becky, I love your hair right now. and like just so polite. And then she would ask to come play, and the kids would be like, no, I don't want to play with her. And we're like, why? She's so nice. And they're like, she's mean. She's always swearing and doing all this stuff out there. And we're like, really? She's like the nicest person ever. So like for us, we want our kids to be not two-faced, not hypocritical, not whatever. And we all have struggles. We all have those moments where we're following the crowd and we're under peer pressure, stuff like that, right? But I don't want my kids to be like the sweetest people in the world to adults and then just like the meanest people to kids, or even vice versa. We just want them to be who they are. I'm like, if my daughter's being mean to somebody and she's being mean to like me, at least she's being consistent and not two-faced about it. But like obviously we don't want her to be mean or anything, but kids are just mean. And I would like to think like in that situation, my daughter would be like, take Carrie into a private stall or whatever and pass her a tampon and be like, you have your period. This is what it is. Here's a tampon. Go talk to the nurse. Go talk to the teacher. Go talk to somebody. Like, if you can't talk to your mom, find somebody to talk to. And I would just hope that my kids would be compassionate and considerate in those situations and not just one of the ones throwing the tampons. But you just never know, right? And it's hard when everyone else is doing it to stand up and be the one to go against that, right? And if you're associated, like, with Carrie in this situation, it's like, oh, you're gross, you're this, you're that, or people are gonna be making fun of you, and that's really hard to stand up against those things. I understand that, but I just really want my kids to be compassionate. Anyways, the gym teacher walks in, it's another female, and she says Carrie is like hysterical kind of thing, and the teacher just takes a moment and just like smacks her to like kind of get her out of that hysteria, and says she hardly would have admitted the pleasure the act gave her, and she certainly would have denied that she regarded Carrie as a fat, whiny bag of lard. I was just like, wow, like that's pretty intense for the teacher to be like thinking those things. Oh, and I'm just looking for my other annotation, and it says, it seems incredible that as late as 1979, Carrie knew nothing of the mature woman's monthly cycle. So it's 1979, so I don't know what they were teaching back then in school about what health class would look like back then, but I'm glad that our schools are teaching it for those who are not getting that information at home. And the gym teacher just kind of makes me laugh because she's talking to Carrie and she's like, you act as if you never had a period before, and Carrie's like, period? It was incredible. Could not be. She herself had begun menstruation shortly after her 11th birthday, the gym teacher, and had gone to the head of the stairs to yell down excitedly, hey mom, I'm on my rag. I was just like, I don't know what people calling it these days. And if you want to call it whatever you want in your home, that's fine. But please teach kids the proper terminology as well. And I guess it was celebrated for her. And that's a good thing. But yeah, that's just kind of funny. Made me laugh. That's my experience reading Carrie so far. So I am still going along in Carrie, and they are talking about Carrie's mom, and by extension Carrie, is very, very, very religious, to the point where her husband died, Carrie's father died, when her mother was 2 months pregnant with her, and she didn't seem to realize that she was pregnant, and people either thought like she's really actually that naive, or something caused her to like, not black out, but just, I guess, kind of black out the fact that she was pregnant, because it seems like having sex is a very sinful thing, like only bad people do that kind of thing, even though she was married when she got pregnant. But then, I don't know Stephen King's thoughts on religion and stuff like that, but it's definitely like, there are people out there who take things to the extreme, no matter what religion or non-religion you are, atheist, believer, doesn't matter. There are extremists out there, for sure. But it definitely feels like, I don't know, I'm a Christian, and part of it is like, wow, you really don't like Christianity, or you really think people are like this. It just seems like Carrie's mom is a very extreme believer and thinks that everything is sin. So it's very extreme, definitely. I don't really have anything else to say about it right now. It's kind of just weird, I guess. I like that there is, I don't know, like if you'd call it, not really mixed media, but you're getting like news articles and stuff that are kind of interspersed with the story of what's happening, and seeing things from the past and what happened with Carrie, and hints of what Carrie can do with telekinesis and stuff like that, mixed with what's happening in the present day with the whole like period situation. And I think that's one of the reasons why like her mom never talked to her about having a period or anything, because of religion. I I don't get it. Even if you believe, like, the Bible talks about this, and I don't understand the historical context of it. I think when a woman is on her period and stuff, it's like she's unclean. And I don't know if that's just because back in that day, they didn't have the sanitation practices that we have now, and like running water, being able to wash your hands and stuff like the way that we do now. And so they just called it like unclean, and it was just a way of helping keep people safe medically. I'm not sure. That's not what this discussion is about. Even if you believe that you are like unclean or whatever during that time of the month, you think you would still teach somebody about that though, so that they can stay clean, or they can stay hidden away or whatever during that time, like stay away from people or whatever. You think you would still teach people about that? So it is weird that she wouldn't mention it, and just thinking like it's unclean. And there's one person talking, and Carrie is like 4 years old, and she asks the girl, she's a little bit older and suntanning in the backyard, and Carrie's like, what are those? And she said, breasts. And she's just like, my mom says that good girls don't get breasts. And she's like, doesn't your mom have them? And she's like, my mom said that she did something evil or something bad, and that's when she got pregnant with me. She did something bad, and that's why she has breasts. And I'm like, what a horrible, horrible message to pass along to your daughter. Like, breasts are not evil. Sex is not evil. Sex is not something to be shameful about. Our bodies aren't something to be shameful about. Something to be shamed about. God gave us our bodies, and God gave us sex as a gift. We misuse it quite a bit, but I believe it is a gift from God, and it is meant to be enjoyed in the right context. But like, just saying everything is evil is kind of crazy. She turned and walked heavily upstairs. The bathroom had a wooden floor that had been scrubbed nearly white. Cleanliness is next to godliness, which is not a biblical principle. It's just a saying people have come up with on their own. And a tub on claw feet. Rust stains dripped down the porcelain below the chrome spout, and there was no shower attachment. Mama said showers were sinful. What? How? Why? If cleanliness is next to godliness, how is showering sinful versus sitting in a tub? So I'm sick, and I'm gonna look pretty rough through most of this vlog, apparently. So Carrie has come home from school with her first period, and the school called her mom, and her mom came home. And her mom is intense, and they talked about how they left the church, and her mom does church at home now, just her mom and Carrie, that's it. And there's a reason why the Bible says that we should not forsake meeting together and worshiping together, because you start to go a little bit crazy when you're just by yourself in your head all the time and just reading the scriptures and stuff all on your own in isolation, and never having anyone to check your thoughts against or anything like that, right? You need people to hold you accountable and to say like, no, I believe this is what is being said here. Putting things into context, and historical context, cultural context. Anyways, Carrie's mom comes home and is like, you're a woman now and we need to pray. And says, Eve was weak and loosed the raven on the world. And the raven was called sin, and the first sin was intercourse. Just so you know, whatever's being said in here is not true. In case you're wondering, like, this is what Christians believe, or this is what the Bible says. No, it doesn't. And the Lord visited Eve with a curse, and the curse was the curse of blood. And Adam and Eve were driven out of the garden and into the world, and Eve found that her belly had grown big with child. There was a second curse, and this was the curse of childbearing, and Eve brought forth Cain in sweat and blood. And following Cain, Eve gave birth to Abel, having not yet repented of the sin of intercourse. And so the Lord visited Eve with a third curse, and this was the curse of murder. Cain rose up and slew Abel with a rock. And still Eve did not repent, nor all the daughters of Eve, and upon Eve did the crafty serpent begin a kingdom of whoredoms and pestilences. This is just wild and crazy that she would be teaching her daughter this stuff. Like, it's insane. It's crazy. The mom calls Carrie's breasts her dirty pillows. Again, like the body shaming in this. And as a religious person, a wasp just flew to my van. Get it away. Go away, wasp. Okay, got the cranky baby. Got the puppers. Our foster pup, Peaches. Okay, so as a Christian person, I can totally understand being conservative in your dress and just not showing off your body for the whole world to see. And this isn't about, it's a busy road. That's not about women shouldn't wear revealing clothes like spaghetti straps or something because it distracts the boys. Boys need to learn to not objectify women. And I get that it can be a distraction and a temptation and stuff like that, but people, not just boys, but people need to learn to not just follow after their temptations. And about consent and respectability and stuff like that. Anyways, I understand dressing conservatively because, like, my body is for me and my husband or my future husband or whatever. I understand that. But to, like, shame the body and being like, those are your dirty pillows, that's just wrong. And I can't get over, like, how horrible Carrie's mother is in this book. And the bad representation of extreme religiosity. Because that's not Christianity at all. She's, like, crazy off her rocker. Jasper! Say bye! Say bye! So Carrie has made herself a prom dress and has tried it on. And her mom is totally against her going to the prom, of course. And her mom walks in and is like, take off the dress. And Carrie says no. And that's when she mentions, like, you can see your dirty pillows. And Carrie's like, Mom, they're breasts. All women have them. And then she's like, take off the dress. No, take off the dress. We'll burn it. We'll do repentance. We'll pray. We'll ask for a sign. We'll get us down on our knees and ask for the Pentecostal fire. No, Mama. And then her mom is messed up. Her mother reached up and pinched her own face. It left a red mark. She looked to Carrie for reaction, saw none. Hooked her right hand into claws and ripped it across her own cheek, bringing thin blood. She whined and rocked back on her heels. Her eyes glowed with exultation. Stop hurting yourself, Mama. That's not going to make me stop either. Mama screamed. She made her right hand a fist and struck herself in the mouth, bringing blood. Like, wow. Her mom, Carrie's mom, is a piece of work. You enjoy Mommy's pumpkin bread? So, still going on in this same scene, the mom, like, freaking out. Carrie uses her powers to, like, push her out the door and close the door. And she keeps talking about God's judgment. Her mom keeps talking about the Lord is not mocked. As Jezebel fell from the tower, let it be with you. And the dogs came and licked at the blood, as it is in the Bible. There's going to be a judgment. So Carrie's mom just keeps talking about this judgment. And I just want to say, like, I do believe in God's judgment, not because you wear a red dress to prom, not like that, but... like, to me, like, if my kids are doing something, obviously I'm going to try my best to put them on the path that I feel is best for them. But if they just continually want to do something that I don't think is smart or wise, say something like drugs. Most people agree that their kids like hardcore drugs. A lot of people are, like, okay with pot, drinking, stuff like that. A little bit of experimentation. I personally would prefer my kids not to dive too much into that. We have some alcoholism and stuff in the family, and it was something I never got into, but that doesn't mean my kids won't. But say, like, cocaine or whatever, like, your kids are doing, like, hardcore stuff, putting themselves in harm's way and stuff, like, I can be like, this is not right, and try and help them, but at the end of the day, I do have to leave them in God's hands. I have to trust that things will work out in the end, and that they make their own choices. So, like, her mom sitting there screaming at her, like, judgment's coming. Well, then leave it in God's hands and let God judge what Carrie's doing. Like I said, I don't believe that God's gonna judge you because you want to go to the prom and wear a red dress. Like, whatever. And it shows off her breasts a little bit. Like, who knows, like, how revealing it is. But to her mom, like, anything like that would be revealing. So, who knows how revealing it really is. But anyways, yeah, like, sometimes you just, okay, then I guess God's gonna judge me and you have to leave it there. And then her mom said there's going to be a judgment. Margaret White raved, I washed my hands of it. I tried. And then Carrie responds, Pilate said that, which made me laugh, which is a reference in the Bible where Pilate is, the case against Jesus is coming before Pilate. He's like a government official, and Pilate is like, I see nothing wrong. Jesus has done nothing wrong and does not deserve any kind of punishment. Like, he is innocent of what you are charging him with, like blasphemy and stuff like that. And they're like, no, crucify him. And Pilate says, I wash my hands of this. Like, let this man's blood be on you because I think he's innocent. So I just kind of laughed at that. I got that reference anyways, so... Okay, so I am like almost done Carrie. I'm like 80 something percent or whatever. I don't know. I have 50 pages left, maybe. It's on an ebook, so I don't actually know how many pages I have left until the end of the story. But Bree at the Locked Booktician and Kayla from Books and Lala are doing reading sprints in a little under 2 hours. So I was like, I'm gonna get out. It's a beautiful day once again. I gotta take full advantage of this fall weather and go for a walk, stretch my legs. I just did the live show on Kayla's channel for the spooky book trivia. So that was fun, that was good. That was like 2.5 hours. So just sitting in front of the computer all day, I was like, I need to get out and get some exercise. Anyways, last night in Carrie, I was reading about the big incident that happens with the blood and the massacre at the school and the town. I didn't know the whole town got like destroyed and massacred by Carrie. The book up until that point was like okay, but there's definitely it was like really fast paced at that point and really easy to read that, and it went by really fast, and then I got too tired and had to go to bed like halfway through this massacre. So yeah, it's been really fast paced and stuff and interesting. I was like, are we gonna find out what actually happened? Like, are we gonna get Carrie's perspective? And we did. So you get to see like how it all goes down in all the massacre and like why it's happening and stuff like that. And I definitely think there's a lot to be said in this book for bullying and how much damage it can do to you. Like, bullying hurts. People's words hurt. Yeah, it's brutal. I like that, like, throughout this, you're getting the story from the future. So we're telling something that happened in the past, and you're getting like news articles, and you're hearing from kind of like court records kind of thing, and like this paper that was written, and somebody who's researching the telekinesis gene. And so you kind of know like who's gonna die, and you know what happens like on prom night, you know that these people are gonna die, things like that. So I kind of like that, like mixed media. It gives a different flow to the storytelling, I guess, and not everything is necessarily like her going crazy at prom isn't a twist, but you don't necessarily see what happens until it happens. So that's cool. And it's not a 5 out of 5 book for sure, because at the beginning I was just like, why am I reading this? This is weird, but it's good. And I'm excited. I'm hoping to finish that. And then tonight during the reading sprints, I will start The Way to Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson. Are you recording?
Yes.
For real?
Yes.
So I didn't see you push a button.
I did. I'm recording!
Okay, let's walk and read. Come on. I have not had the energy or mental capacity to be filming, editing, doing anything related to BookTube besides watching it. But I am halfway through The Way to Blood now, and I am enjoying it. I am liking it a lot more than Carrie, I think. Obviously, a lot more modern. I like that Tiffany D. Jackson chose to write this in the setting of 2014, and then the present day time is 10 years later, so 2024, obviously. I just appreciate that she brought it into the 2000s, the 2010s, and it just feels a lot more modern and better. I'm liking the characters more in this one. They're more fleshed out. There's more depth to the characters, I guess. And I'm really enjoying that. One of the things I wanted to talk about was in Carrie and in The Way to Blood, the girl, the equivalent of Carrie, her name is Maddie. Maddie and Carrie are both obviously heavily bullied in these books. And there's a scene in Carrie where the girl's father gets called into the principal's office. I think it's like the assistant principal or vice principal or whatever. And he has a talk with her about her bullying Carrie with the first scene with the period blood and throwing the tampons and stuff. And her dad, I believe, is a lawyer or something. And he's like, I'm going to sue you. I'm going to do all this stuff. And he's just like, my daughter couldn't possibly do anything wrong. And the school, the principal is, and the gym teacher's there as well, because she kind of witnessed or came in at the very end of and ended that bullying scene. And the principal and the gym teacher and stuff were very much like, no, your daughter bullied Carrie. And that's not right, and talked about when the kids are on school grounds, the school can act as like the parent or the guardian towards them, and the dad is like, I'm gonna sue you guys, and the principal's like, fine, but we're gonna counter sue you on behalf of Carrie. And I really liked that they stood up for Carrie and didn't just bow down to this powerful lawyer guy, rich, important person in the community. They were like, no, what your daughter did was wrong. And I like that. Like, nowadays I feel like schools and stuff like that can cower to the parents a lot more now, and children aren't held as responsible as they used to be. And I appreciated that scene, that they stood up for Carrie and weren't just scared by the father. That scene happens in The Weight of Blood as well, and I just really appreciated that, even though it is brought into the newer, more modern times. And Tiffany D. Jackson could have chosen to have it where the school kind of cowers to or caters to the parents, but they didn't. They were like, no, what your daughter did was wrong, and she needs to be held accountable for that. So I just want to say I really appreciated that scene, and I'm really enjoying The Weight of Blood so far. And I'm about halfway through it. I think it's over 400 or just around the 400 page mark, and I'm on like page 210 or something like that. And I'm taking my time with it a little bit more and reading a few other things in between, because the live show for it I think is in November. So I have time to read it, but I want to finish it in October, and it is October 24th. So I got a week to finish it. And then I have a whole bunch of other stuff to read in November. So I want to finish that, and yeah, I will hopefully update this again a little bit sooner and be a little bit better at vlogging and YouTube. Okay, so I'm on part 3, page 293, 406. I got my baby here nursing. I got the dog right beside us on the couch. She jumped up. Got my coffee. I got a cookie, and hopefully I can get through this in the next little while. I have over 100 pages left. I'm a little bit of a slow reader. I'm excited to finish off The Weight of Blood. It's been really good so far. Like I said, I feel a lot more connected to these characters, and I'm like sad about what's gonna happen, knowing like they all die, and this in a really brutal way too. But yeah, like I'm way more connected to these characters, and there's a lot more depth and stuff going on there. So I'm enjoying it more than Carrie, I guess, in that regard. I don't want to say too much about it because I don't want to give any spoilers, since this book is so new and Carrie is so old. Like, if you haven't seen or read Carrie by now, like, I don't know, I just did it for the first time, but like, you can't expect there not to be spoilers for that out there. But yeah, I'm not going to give any spoilers for The Weight of Blood, of course. It's good, and I'm excited to finish it off. And I'm here to wrap up my vlog of Carrie and The Weight of Blood. I enjoyed myself. I enjoyed myself. I am not sick. I went on a roller coaster and now I can't talk. So I'm going to make this very short. I enjoyed myself doing my experience reading Carrie by Stephen King and The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson. I think if I had read Carrie or seen Carrie earlier in life, it would have that nostalgic factor to it. But just reading them back and back for the first time now, I enjoyed The Weight of Blood a little bit more. It's definitely more modern, and I like what she did with it. I like the changes that she made, and I just felt more connected to the characters and the story overall. And I like how it ended. I really didn't like the characters so much in Carrie, but the action and stuff was good and interesting, and the story was interesting. I just felt more connected to The Weight of Blood, and I'd say it was one of the best books I've read so far this year. So I would say this reading experience was positive overall. So let me know if you have read or watched Carrie, if you are a Stephen King fan, if you liked that book or that movie, or which adaptation of it is better. And if you have read The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson. The only other book by Tiffany D. Jackson I have read is Monday Is Not Coming. I read that last year. And I also have Allegedly on my shelf that I need to get to. And I'm hoping to read all of her books because I discovered her last year with Monday's Not Coming. And I hear only good things about her. So I would like to read more of her stuff as well. Comment down below if you have read Carrie, The Weight of Blood, any other Stephen King books that are your favorites. I don't really plan on going through his backlist. Your favorite Tiffany D. Jackson, and thank you for hanging out with me, and I'll see you next time. Bye! So I just want to do another really quick update on The Weight of Blood. I finished the book, but after I edited my entire video and exported it on my computer, I watched Katie Coulson's vlog, the Halloween weekend one, the weekend ween or whatever, where she read this book and she loved it. And Katie Coulson is a lot more enthusiastic about her reading and when she loves something, and she's a lot more hyped up about it, I guess. And I'm just like, it was a good book, read it. So I suggest watching Katie Coulson's video, and I will link it down below if you want to get hyped up about reading this book. And she does talk about it a little bit more in depth than I do because I didn't want any spoilers. But I guess it's not a spoiler if it's in... Sometimes it is a spoiler though, even though it's in like the description. But Maddie, the girl that is bullied in here, the Carrie equivalent is biracial, but she is white passing, and nobody knows that until the beginning of this book. The like period scene in this book is her hair getting wet and growing big and big and big and big, and they find out that she's actually biracial because she has black hair. There's a lot of really good conversations in this. I read this because of the Books and Lala Besties Book Club pick, and I watched her vlog where she read this. She didn't talk about it in depth because we were going to do that on Sunday, November 13th, so you still have time to see that. But my dog is chewing on something. Some kind of like piece of garbage, of course, because children, dogs, it's fun. But Books and Lala, Kayla did not like this one as much. It was more like a 3-star for her, and Katie Coulson gave it like a 5-star. So if you want a little bit of a balanced review, watch both videos. Anyways, I think they're both the Week-a-Ween ones as well. This is YA, so keep that in mind when you go into it. So if you don't like YA, you might not like this. Katie Coulson talks about how she doesn't like YA, but she will still read Tiffany D. Jackson. And it reads like a YA. She doesn't make the characters too young or too old. She writes them at an appropriate age. And there's a lot of really great conversations about systemic racism. So that's it. That's what I wanted to say. And I will see you next time. Thank you for watching. Bye.